Dr. Lamb, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Good
How
evening.
are you?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
I'm excited to be here. I am excited to be here. It's a
Great.
busy time, but I'm ready for this semester to get started.
Yeah, let's get it started.
I'm ready to roll. Sit down here. Yeah, it's with all the COVID issues and all the things going on in life and in schools, here at the college, I'm ready to return to some sense of normalcy.
I hope we get back to something similar to that soon.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. The biggest thing for us right now is trying to get all of our classes, all the enrollment done and get all of our classes going. That's been a struggle here lately. So hopefully we'll get.
But Gardner Webb is still face-to-face at this time, correct?
They're trying to do face-to-face. They started out last week.
Okay.
Now, how long that's going to last, I have no idea. I'm guessing 4 weeks. So, I don't know what the president was asked what the threshold is. I guess the threshold is when the dormitory that they're going to quarantine them in gets full. I guess we'll send them home.
Okay.
We had an outbreak this summer.
Oh.
But supposedly the active cases aren't there. Excuse me a second. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Hold 1 second. I'm on Zoom. 350. All right. Bye-bye. And so, yeah, we had an outbreak second session of summer school when they let students come back. The athletes came back.
Uh-huh.
And the football team had a pretty big outbreak, but supposedly they're all, but they have, I won't say revolted, but they have the conference football season was canceled, but the initial report from the president's office is they would have football this fall and they would play the contracted games, the endowment games, the non-conference games, up to 4 of those. But then I have since heard that will not be happening, that those games have been canceled as well. So I don't know what's going to happen. But our most likely problem is going to be from, obviously, dormitories, student athletes. As soon as they came back this summer, they all had it.
Oh.
So I'm guessing, well, I think our plan is if we don't test them, that means they don't have it. So I don't think that's a good plan. That's hope. That's not a plan. Hey, Don.
Hey, Dr. Lamb.
Hey, Donna.
Hey,
I'm not big on hope. I need a plan. But so we'll see how long it lasts. We haven't closed the campus down. We have a lot of people walking on every day without masks, coming in the buildings and the bathrooms. Well, this is the neighborhood park. And so now you don't notice it as much when students are here, but like first session of summer school, when there weren't any students here, there was probably 80 or 90 people on campus every day. They'd come and walk, go in the buildings, use bathrooms and get water, go to the cafeteria, go to the library. It's pretty busy. Yes. Yes. That's correct. And so we'll see how long it lasts. They've opened up a little health clinic. This is the only college I know that doesn't have an infirmary. They just send them up to the CVS, to the Minute Clinic. So we've taken one of the little houses over on University Road that was an elementary demonstration pre-K school. They've taken it from them and said that's now the infirmary. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do over there.
You saying Gardner Webb does not have a infirmary for students
No, never had one.
with a nursing program or just a DNP?
Yeah, you get it. We've got a nursing school and a PA school, and don't have an infirmary. That is correct.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Hey,
I
Jackie.
know.
Hey, Kim. I thought I saw Kim.
Yes,
Hey,
hi.
everybody.
Hello.
This is Buku. I'm not home, so I'm doing it by phone.
That's fine,
Buku.
Buku. Good to
Oh,
see you,
Thank
or
you.
good to hear you.
look, I was like, how is Buku's answer machine playing and he's talking?
Because somebody was calling me.
Somebody was calling them and see. All right. And so we've got Tawanda and Donald and Kim and Buku and Jackie. Who we missing?
Angela.
Angela.
All right. It's 6:02. I'm going to go ahead and get started. All right. So let's get started here. What we're going to do tonight. This is just introductory to get everybody ready for our first meeting. So the first thing we've got to do is figure out, y'all want to do the 6 weekend Saturday only or the 3 weekend Saturday Sunday?
Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry.
Okay, so if you
Wait a minute,
look
I'm sorry,
under
Dr.
Blackboard, under weekly schedule, I've got two different schedules. I've got one that the traditional, we meet six weekends on Saturday. Let me turn this on. The traditional 6 Saturdays, or we can do the 3 weekend Saturday and Sunday, the 3 weekend schedule. So let's look at what those schedules look like. All right, so on this one, we'd meet half a day on Saturday and half a day on Sunday for 6 different weekends. And on the other one, we'd meet all day Saturday and all day Sunday for just 3 weekends. So I mean, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Basically, you get the same amount of time. Do you want to do all day Saturday, Sunday, and do 3 weekends, or you want to do half day Saturday, Sunday, and do 6 weekends? That's the issue. How many weekends do you want to tie up? Either 3 or 6.
I think we're going to do 3, Doctor.
3, I got to pick us up for 3.
Everybody wants to do 3? That's fine with me. All right, that was easy enough.
Yes,
all right,
sir.
We'll move on from that, and I'll remove the other schedule. So we're going to do that now. Let me move that out of the way and go back to my 3 here. All right, now, main thing I want to point out on this schedule is over here on the right, you see this teal color on these Salkine tests? Teal means they are optional. That's the only thing that in our program that's optional is.
Are you sharing your screen?
Pardon?
Are you sharing your screen, or do we need to go and look at?
It says that I am sharing my screen.
He's sharing on my end.
I don't see it on my end. Okay.
Can we see it now?
I don't see it, but I think I may be the only one, but I don't know what's going on. Okay.
Anybody else see the share?
Yes,
I
do.
see it. I see the
Okay.
teal color. I see it.
All right, so under weekly schedule, if you can't see my screen share, under weekly schedule in Blackboard, pull up the 3-week schedule and pull it up, and you can see what I'm talking about. I have, and I'll go over all the other things that are required, but I do want to point out that after you do the introductory test to Salkine, which is the first book, the quantitative book, and you do the little Excel 10-question test, after that, all the Salkine tests are optional, unless you miss class sessions. You got to go to the makeup. Let me get out of that. So we're going to do the 3-weekend schedule. Under the weekly schedule, that's what I just pulled up. But now under Salkine test, here are all the different tests. I'm screen sharing those. These two, the Excel test and the introductory test, are required for everybody. The other 4 tests are not required unless you want to do them. But if you miss class sessions, you need to look up under makeup activities, 3-weekend schedule. It tells you what you have to make up. Those tests are a part of that makeup. If you miss the instruction, you're going to have to take those tests. So they're optional if you attend all your sessions. They are not optional if you miss. So I have a morning and afternoon. Sometimes folks can come one morning, but they got something in the afternoon, or sometimes they can do Saturday, not Sunday. That, as you can see, I've got everything broken down into half-day sessions. If you miss a half day or a whole day or a whole weekend, right here is the work that you have to do to make up those face-to-face or virtual face-to-face sessions. Is under makeup activities for the 3-weekend schedule. Make sure you understand that. Don't say, well, I didn't have to do those tests because that was optional. It's only optional if you attend all the sessions. If you miss a session, for example, if you miss Saturday morning, October the 10th, you're gonna have to do that Salkine test on chapters 2 through 6. You don't have to if you attend that session. I have to have makeup for all sessions that you miss. There has to be a makeup. That is a Gardner-Webb requirement now during COVID. I'm going to take attendance as well this semester for the first time, but don't worry about that part. If you do your makeup, you'll be fine. But even though we're not meeting on campus, we're doing attendance and we're doing makeup for everything. That's not a DEOL decision. That's a Gardner-Webb decision. Gardner-Webb can only do one thing at a time. They can't understand that you might have classes that don't meet on campus, or you might have classes that meet virtually. Doesn't matter. They can't make that accommodation. So we're following the rules. I will take attendance. It won't factor into your grade, and we do have to have makeups for every session that you miss, and here they are. So I want to make sure I pointed that out. I know that's new and different, but the world is new and different because of COVID. Any questions on those tests and on makeup?
Dr. Lamb, I have a question.
Activities.
I have a question.
Okay.
And so just to make sure that I understand the makeup, for example, the week of our first day that we meet that weekend, September 5th and 6th,
Yep.
I will be traveling. That's Labor Day weekend, but I will still call in or try to connect in the car. Will that still count as attendance?
No. No. Not if not, all you can do is call in.
But if I am visible, if I can show my face,
If you're visible, if I can see you on the screen, you're there. They've already made that call. If I can't see you, you're not there.
okay,
If you're on the screen, if I can see you to be present, you must have your camera turned on. That's a Gardner-Webb that's for virtual classes. That was decided this spring when they went virtual. What students would do was log in and simply turn their camera off and go on about their business. And so to be counted present, I must see your smiling face. Now, you could be doing something else for all I know. And do not record loops and stick them up so it looks like, and scratch your nose every 30 seconds. Don't do that. Students did that this spring. Don't do that. Don't do little vines or little loop recordings and show and put them on. If you're either there or you're not. It's supposed to be. I'm supposed to see your smiling face live for you to be counted present. Again, that's the Gardner-Webb rule. Just like Donald just went off and came back on. That's fine. But now I see Donald, he's not there. Kim, all
Oh,
I
I'm
can
sorry.
see is Kim's name.
I was adding to my calendar.
There you go. All I can see is Kim Roberts on the screen, and all I can see for Buku is a phone. They would not be counted here right now. I can see Jackie, I can see Tawanda, I can see Donald. You three would be counted present, Kim and Buku. Now Donald's absent again. So
Yeah,
I need
I'm
to
still here.
face.
I'm here.
I have a scarf on my head. I don't think you want to see that, Doctor. I mean, Bob.
Hey, there's Kim.
Yes,
I didn't
There
feel
she
like
is.
taking my scarf off, so sorry.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Well, you've seen it now, so I'll just stay here.
yeah, I was just
Okay.
You look
So-
fabulous.
So that these are all new rules. That's one of the reasons I wanted to meet with y'all tonight. This is all new stuff. They're trying to figure it out as they go. I know it's not actually applicable to us, and so I said, do we have to? No, yeah, you got to do the same thing. So they're not. They only know one thing, and so this is it. So if you're not here, you got to do makeup. I do have to take attendance. I have to see you live. And so then the question becomes, how often or how much of that session do I need to see you live? And I know that, you might turn your camera off for a minute and go do something else or whatever. Just the majority of the time. Just make sure your camera's on and you're live the majority of the time. I don't think anybody will ever check it. You never know. Bean counters, they don't seem to understand about what you learn, not about whether I saw you face or not. But anyway, so that's the rule on attendance. Okay, let me see. So weekly schedule, I'm going to go ahead and take this. I'm just going to delete that one. Okay, and I'm going to delete this one as well. Delete. Okay, and so all we got left is the 3 weekend schedule and the meeting times. September 5th and 6th, 10th and 11th, 21st and 22nd will be our weekend. I'm going to take out the makeup activities for the regular. I'm going to take that one out and leave the one for the 3 weekend. That's the one that matters. All right, the other thing, I've got class materials for each of the sessions. Make sure that you've covered these before you've looked at this before we have our sessions, because they'll go really fast. I won't sit and read all this stuff. And so make sure, here are all the SAL contests and responders. First 2 are required unless you missed, and you got to do some of these. All the Royce tests, both of them are required. The final exam is a 20 question test. And it's just for me. It don't count against you or whatever. These are the 20 things I think you ought to know. Now, I can do this test in less than 4 minutes. And get all 20 of them. That's how, and it's old and I don't even remember, but that's how easy this test is. But it's the 20 things from this course I think you ought to know. And so it's simple stuff like what methodology emphasizes objective measures, statistical, mathematical, numerical data collected through test polls, questionnaires. Everybody ought to know that's quantitative data.
Quantitative.
Yeah, everybody ought to know that. Interviews and observations, that's qualitative. Statistical significance means results from a test is not likely to occur randomly by error or chance. This is things you should know. That'd be meaningful. Find as an educated guess as a hypothesis. How do I know? Works every time I use it. It's reliability. How do I know it measures what I think it does? That's validity. Which of the following is not a measure of central tendency? Median, mode, and mean, so standard deviation would not be. A normal or Gaussian distribution. is a bell-shaped curve. Everybody knows what a bell-shaped curve is. Correlation is strength association because terms defined between two random variables. Independent refers to rather a general relationship without specific, not necessarily causal relationship. So that would be an association. And then to examine how one variable relationship to another. One would you would want to correlation. Is there a correlation between two variables? The measure the average distance from the mean is the standard deviation, which is the standard deviation squared is variance. Between means such as variation, that would be analysis of variance. There's a linear relationship. Linear means linear regression. When tallying and representing how often scores occur, that'd be a frequency distribution. That's when you get survey results and there's no right answer. You just report how many times people answered that. A sample is drawn from a larger population. So random is a random sample. What are the 4 levels of measurement? Interval, ordinal, nominal, and ratio. Let's see, where's that one? Nominal, ordinal, and ratio. There it is. And come on. And number 20. The foundation of all inferential statistics is probability. So save and submit. Okay. Took me 2 minutes. And click OK to see how many I got in 2 minutes. I got all 20 of them right in 2 minutes. Surely.
Good job, Dr. Lamb. I feel so comfortable now.
At the end of this semester, surely y'all can answer those 20 questions. As old and infirm as I am, if I can go through them in 2 minutes, and I hadn't practiced in how long, this is the stuff you need to know, though. This is what's important. I'm not going to teach you to be a statistician. That's not the point. We'll do a little calculus, but that's not the point. I need for you to know the big picture of data, how to collect it, and mostly how to keep somebody from running your pants up the flagpole. That they don't snow you with data like we see on TV all the time with politicians that just tell you part of the story and businesses so that you're able to ask the right questions so that the people who do work for you who are quants, you can put them on the right path. You can ask the right questions. You won't be deceived. You'll be able to speak intelligently out in public about data, about population sample analysis, all of those kinds of things. That's what I'm interested in, is the practical application of how to use this. If you want me to stand at the board and do calculus, I can do that. That's not important to what you need to know, though. So don't be afraid of this class. Yes, there are statistics involved, but I will always be able to relate them to the real world. I have very few gifts in life. That's one of them. This stuff makes sense to me. And my job is to make it make sense to you when we get through. That I know this stuff is immaterial. I want you to know this stuff. I want you to know how this is used in a real world fashion. Do not be afraid of this. I will not have you up, with a calculator in hand doing all these things. You can Google all of these analysis now. It doesn't take but a second. We can do analysis of variance. We can Google that and stick a few numbers in it and do it on Google. But what numbers do you put in it and what do they mean? That's what's important, not the actual calculus. We will not make you do hand calculations like I had to learn 35 years ago. We will not do that kind of thing. That's not the point of this course. So do not be afraid. But at the end of this course, you should be conversant with this terminology that I'm using. So we'll start our class with terms. That's how we'll start. Is just what is the language of this discipline? And it's really simple. That's how we're going to start. Is we're going to have a common language to talk about. So you can fool most people just if you know the language. but I don't want you to be fooled. I want you to know what these things mean. And so it's pretty easy. So discussion board, you have questions from all of these different chapters and books, and they're practical application questions. You know, they're things like, these are things that you would run into in real life. Provide an example of when someone might want to compare scores from different tests. Why is a standard score useful in this situation? For example, if you wanted to compare the SAT, the GRE to the MAT, the GRE is on a scale of 1,600 points. The MAT is on a scale of 100 points. How do you compare the two? Well, you simply do a conversion to a standardized score using what's called a Z score, and you can compare one to the other. If you were looking at two students for admission to college, and one of them had a GRE score and one of them had an MAT score, and you were looking to admit them to a doctoral program, how would you compare the two? They're on completely different scales. It's simple. We convert them to a similar scale, a Z score, and we can compare the two, even though they're not on the same scale. Something that's simple. That's practical.
Dr. Lane? Just
Yes.
a really quick question. With these discussion boards, of course, we're supposed to respond in the past to two of our peers within time. Are we doing, because I'm noticing that these questions are pretty, and I'm not quite sure how you would respond. So are we?
No, I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested. Okay. This is about you and what you learned. This has got to be more individualized.
Okay.
It's individualized to what your experience is as well. I want to make this course practical to what you know and what you do in your consultancy, but also in your job. Responding to somebody else's discussion board is immaterial to me. Don't do that. And I don't want a page answer. I want short one sentence. I want you to be a thinker. These shouldn't take you forever. Why is
Tawanda won't have a problem with that.
A hypothesis is it's what we call a swag in the business. Everybody knows what a swag is. It's a stupid, wild ass guess. That's what an hypothesis is. That's what we in the business call a swag.
I'm writing that down.
I have this notion. I just feel like now it gives me some direction as to, that's what an hypothesis is. I think this affects that. I don't have any evidence of that. Now I'm going to go try to figure out how to get some evidence of that. That's what an hypothesis is. That's why they're important. They're a starting point. That's all you have to know. It's just a guess, but it gives me a starting point that I can start then. All right, I have an hypothesis. Now I can develop a couple of research questions and I can go find that data. That's all you need to know about an hypothesis. I don't want you to get down in the weeds on these. Degrees of freedom simply, that means the larger degrees of freedom, the more independent scores you have and the more comfortable you are with that. One of the things we have problems with is validity and reliability if you have small sample size. As I said at the faculty meeting the other day, that's the story of my life. Small n. Little n is sample, big N is population. If we were doing the calculus, a capital N means population. That's the number in the population. A little n means the number in the sample. And so the larger the number of pieces of data we have, the more confidence we have in what we find from that data, that we're free of outliers. If I go ask 2 people and they give me the same answer, but I go ask 100 people, I feel a whole lot more confident with my data from 100 people than I do from 2 people. That's what degrees of freedom is. The bigger it is, the bigger your data set is. That's just that simple. And so chi-square in the real world, when we do a survey, and we survey in a group, we want to make sure that group is not an outlier group, that they are pretty representative of the larger population. So we simply run their chi-square against their results to make sure that they're a normal group. That's what we use chi-square for with survey data. So, if I went to a certain place and only asked if I wanted some data and I only went to the depot over in Lattimore when I had lunch and I only asked the people in there, they're probably not too representative of the entire county that we're in right here. And so I have to know that. The standard one on that is from the election in 1972. If anybody remembers that, that's when McGovern ran against Nixon and Nixon won all 50 states. And somebody from Greenwich Village in New York said, I don't understand that. Everybody I know voted for McGovern. He only knew people from Greenwich Village, and that was the only little group of people in the world that voted for McGovern. So his whole worldview was from Greenwich Village, but that was an outlier group. They were not the normal population. And so that's what we're talking about, learning things like that. How do you make sure that when you get a sample from a population, that it is truly a random sample, that that sample represents that bigger population, and it's just not one or two people that are different than everybody else, and you just happen by chance on those two people that were different than everybody else. Those are the kinds of things that I want you to know and understand. Why is the standard deviation an unbiased estimate? Because it's just the average distance from the mean of your data. It's a mathematical calculation. It's not somebody's opinion. It's just the average distance that scores fall from the mean. That's why it's unbiased. It is your data. When we're talking about measures of central tendency or levels of measurement, my favorite level of measurement is from golf. You have interval, ordinal, nominal, and ratio. Interval means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 follows 1 and 3 follows 2. And so in the world golf rankings back 10 or 15 years ago, it was Tiger Woods #1 and Phil Mickelson #2. That was when we were looking at ordinal, the order, Tiger was 1, Phil was 2. And every week when the golf would come on, they'd say, well, Phil passed Tiger this week for #1 because he's #2. They implied that it was a very close race. If we had done interval, Tiger had like 1 million points and Phil had like 1. That's how big the gap was. It unfortunately came to pass. Tiger didn't pick up a club for over 3 years after his wife hit him with the 9-iron. And he still was #1. He was so far ahead. So they implied a race that wasn't there by manipulating the levels of measurement. They used ordinal 1, 2, 3, the order, rather than the interval, which would have let us know that it really wasn't any race at all for #1. That's how you get manipulated in your thinking and in data reporting. When we put things in order, we assume that there's a normal or the same amount of distance between every one of them. There isn't. Just like Sunday's golf tournament yesterday. Dustin Johnson was 1 and Harris English was 2, except there was 9 strokes difference between 1 and 2. It wasn't, when it came on yesterday, they were like on the 8th hole at 3 o'clock and the tournament was already over. As long as Dustin, DJ didn't step in the hole or have a heart attack, he was going to win yesterday. But they were trying, they tried to play up that this was the competition was still undecided. Oh, you got to be on the edge. No, I turned it off. Why am I watching that? He's beating the breath out of them boys. Why would I want to watch that? But that's what we do to manipulate numbers. We do that in organizations every day to make things look better than they really are or worse. When my wife and I got married in her home church, they got a new preacher and he wanted a new sanctuary. They didn't need one. So what did he do? He closed the balcony off so it'd be crowded down to the bottom floor to make it look like we needed a new sanctuary. Well, he cut half the seating capacity down. He made it look like that we had, that we didn't have enough room. by closing the balcony. We had plenty of room. But that didn't fit his narrative. He wanted to raise money and build a new sanctuary because he was a new pastor there. You know how they are, especially Baptists. And so that's the kind of thing that, you know, I can say that as a Baptist, but, you know, that's what we're talking about here, is learning these things, and we'll have more business applications. So here are your activities. The last thing I want to cover is your case studies. Look under case study materials, and it tells you everything you need to know. It's got your directions, who your groups are, how to analyze your study, your presentation rubric. It's got the 4 case studies, 1, 2, 3. Don't be confused down here. It says case 3, 4, and 5. That goes with the 3rd case study. Those are, you pick which one of those you want to do as a group. And so here are your directions of how it's supposed to look. And then your reflection, you have a group project that you worked on collaboratively, the 3 of you in your group, but then you write an individual reflection. It says 2 pages maximum. I prefer a half page or less. I don't have a minimum. What did you learn from doing your case study? This is not about generating a bunch of busy work. These case studies there's some content in them, but there's also the notion of being able to collaborate virtually and produce a product. Because that's the real world of work now, where you don't just come online and look at one another, that you actually are able to produce a product. So look at all those things. Everything else is here. I've got everything I'm going to cover in every session. I don't hide anything. You can look ahead. You can look behind. Everything that I'm going to cover is here. All the tests, the PowerPoints that I'm going to cover, everything, the makeup activities, everything is contained here. Yes, ma'am.
You said we could work ahead, or we could read ahead and read behind. Will we be able to work ahead?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Nothing is hidden. I don't put time limits on anything. No work is early, no work is late. You do it whenever you know.
Our lives. Good gracious. Okay.
Only thing is you got to make sure that you can collaborate with your teams on your case studies. Other than that, so that we have those ready for the days that we present those. Other than that, it's up to you. I fully understand your adult people with adult lives. Some weeks you have more time than others. The only thing is, don't let your team down on your case study. That's the only thing. Now, if we look at our week,
Is the first case study, are you about to go over the syllabus? Is the first case study due on that Sunday? Our first one?
Yeah. It's
Okay.
actually due. Yeah. So your first case study will be due on Sunday, September the 6th. That's why I wanted to meet today. Now, do not overthink this. Don't spend forever. Y'all should be able to collaborate for 30 minutes and get this done. If it takes you more than that, you know, you'll probably have to pull your shoes off to do the counting in this course. Don't overthink these things. Spend 30 minutes or so reading the case, be prepared, and then efficiently do 30 minutes together and then come up with your PowerPoint. You can kind of do that on your own. Now, if you want to open a Google Doc, a shared doc to do that, that's up to the leader of that week. So the first person in each of the groups is the leader for the first week. Ever how y'all want to figure it out. This is a course in leadership. I'm giving you the opportunity to lead a group, produce a product. That's very valuable in the world of work. And so that's when the first one is due. Now, you're going to have a good bit of time on the Saturday afternoon, because when we start at when we come back from break at 2:45, as soon as we get IRB cranked up, which you're required to do, the IRB, the CITI, there's a link in there. We'll do that. There's 17 modules. It takes a while, probably 4 to 6 hours. You don't have to do it that Saturday as long as As soon as I see that you are in the right place, you got the right 17 modules, you can go and you can work on your case study if you want to for the rest of that time. My suspicion is if all of us are at least literate, by 3 o'clock we'll be out that day. Now that doesn't mean that you just get in there. You've got to finish those things before the end of the semester. You've got to have that CITI certification coming out of this course. Otherwise, you won't be able to do your consultants. Now, we've worked out a deal with the graduate school where you do not have to go through the IRB review process here on campus, which takes a year. You don't have to go through that if you get this certification. Now, again, I had to redo mine. I have to do mine every 3 years, just like you did. I redid mine in the fall. It took me 4 hours. Students say it takes them 6. It's no joke, those 17 modules. I'm not expecting you to do them next Saturday week. You've got time to do that as a module or two, and here and there, when you've got an hour, you can sit down and do 3 or 4 modules. But I just want to make sure that we get our online registration. I've got all 6 of you with the correct 17 modules, and we're golden. And then you can work on your case study for the next day if you want to do that, because you got to set aside that time anyway to be with me. There's an hour right there you can knock out part of it. I would use Google Docs is what I would do to collaborate virtually. Now, don't reinvent the wheel. Look over here on look at all these wonderful videos I've got for you over here on these different case studies. I'd look and see what these people did. Don't reinvent the wheel. And I've got some from this past spring. I've got final presentations. If you want to know what a final presentation looks like, if you want to know what a case study presentation, all the presentations are outlined for you right here. So, I mean, you can read what the directions are, but if you're still unsure what a final presentation looks like or what a case study, just simply watch one of these videos for a few minutes. They're all right here for you for a reason. I'm not about time. I'm about talent. I want you to learn the material. I want you to grow as a leader. I want you to come away from this class saying, I got something. You know, it was worth the money I paid to Gardner Webb to be exposed to this. This is something that I'll be able to use my entire life. I can use it in my professional life. I got value from this. We can, and if you want to take those additional tests and you want to dig deeper into statistics, into quantitative, into parametric statistics, I'll be right there with you. I am an inferential parametric statistics person, but everybody doesn't like to do that. And that's not required for you to be successful in this course. That is not required. That you can listen and learn, and you can think, you'll be fine. If you've made it this far, I expect all of you to make A's, and we'll all be good. And the main thing is, if you don't understand concepts, simply ask, and I'll relate to something that we all understand. That's the important part, is making sure that we all understand as we go how all this stuff is used in real life. Not that we can sit down and calculate the square root by hand of something, or standard deviation or variance by hand. I had to learn all that stuff, but that was a different time, and I was doing something different than what we're doing here. This is for practitioners. This is for everyday organizational life. That's what this is geared to. All right, questions you have for me?
My question is, will this meeting be recorded?
That was my
The
question.
one we're in now,
Yes, sir.
everything I do is recorded. It'll be posted later tonight. I've got another one. I've got a back-to-back. I've got a 7 o'clock. I've got 140 new babies coming into my program. and I'm meeting with them at 7 tonight. And so in the masters and the add-on licensure. And so as soon as this one gets through processing, it will be posted under the shell under this under the week 1 tab. It will go under there. Everything will always be recorded. You know, you can review the videos if you missed the session, and you can make up the work fairly easily. Yep.
Okay.
Again, it's about talent, it's not about time. I understand that you can't always be with me. I know that breaks your heart. Don't get to see me all the time.
It really does.
I couldn't even keep a straight face on that one. No. We'll have a lot of laughs, though. That's the best part. What I hate is you don't get to meet in person, so, you know, we have big spread for breakfast, and we just tell jokes all day. Can't do that on this. We'll have to kind of stick to the topic, I guess, but we'll still tell some good stuff. We'll have fun.
While we're on screen.
Pardon?
As long as you don't mind us eating while we're on screen.
It won't bother me a bit. Again, that kind of stuff does not bother me. I bring food seriously for classes. We eat during class when we meet face to face. Hopefully we'll get to do that one of these days. That does not bother me. It does not. And again, the only reason that I said I've got to see your smiling face is that's the Gardner-Webb rule now. But they had so many students that didn't do that this spring, and then they got to doing video clips, and they weren't really there. And so I don't want to get into all of that. So, you know, just let me see your smiling face, and then if you got to go off every once in a while for a while, I understand that. As long as I see you every now and then, everything's good. But you know, this is, I teach this course because I want to, not because I have to. This is the most fun that I have. This is, I enjoy this. They don't have to twist my arm to make me teach this. Normally, to get somebody to teach quantitative, we have to threaten them to the inch of their life. Not me. I volunteer first. This is my favorite stuff. So I'm hoping, I said that not to tell you how dumb I am, but I'm hoping some of that will be infectious for you, that you will enjoy this, that you'll get something out of it and you'll enjoy it. That's what I'm hoping. And when you get through, you'll say, boy, I dreaded that. It wasn't my favorite thing to do, but, you know, I think I learned something. All right. I'll post the video in a few minutes. For some reason.
Thank you, Dr. Lamb. I appreciate it. I feel much better since this video, so thank you.
Sure.
I do.
I want everybody to feel good and happy. You'll have a great time. Trust me. It'll
Nice
be
enough,
fun.
Tim.
See everybody.
All right. I'll
Bye,
put y'all
guys.
soon.
Bye
Thank
later.
you.
All right.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.